Hi, namaste, and welcome to February 2026. So the month of February itself is a 2. It's a 2 month. In 2026, it is a vibration of 3, and then we're in the global vibration of 10. So this month, our number frequencies are 2, 3, and 10. There is a lot happening this month, and the general themes that came through to really mention are we're going to be crossing a threshold, major crossing, and to root or anchor in love or peace. So if that doesn't resonate, if your inner guidance is suggesting, guiding you to something else to anchor or root, absolutely honor that. Of course, always honoring your own inner guidance first and foremost. But this month, because there's so much happening and so much shift and such a pivotal, as we cross these thresholds, there's just a really kind of new pathways really opening, and new pathway really opening. So this invitation for us is really rooting in, and I'll explain that a little bit more when we get into the number vibrations and how they are going to be working with us or offering us, kind of the platform from that perspective. I am just going to mention a couple highlights astrologically that is going to be happening. I won't go in depth with them. So if you want to go into more information, please, kind of look into it yourself as well, just to kind of understand specifically what that might mean and what that might mean for you. If you have an astrologer that you work with, or you can, kind of look into it yourself. But just because I'm going to mention these, because I always like to sprinkle a little of the astrology. I don't want to go into depth with them though, because I want to cover the numerology, which is really what we focus on here. But the astrology is big this month too. So we just in the last part of January had a shift from Neptune out of Pisces into Aries. Huge. So these are really big cycles that are shifting, which are really, so endings still completing. We're this February, we're shifting out of the snake into the fire horse. That's also going to be a theme. So we're in kind of that, again, transitional period. We're into this new beginning. And from the energy that's coming in and from the information that's coming in, there's going to be a lot of really quick movement going in, and hence that's why we want to really root. So Neptune going into Aries has been one big change. We're adjusting to that. That's starting to kick in the energy in a whole big different way. And then we also have Saturn that's going to be going into Aries. That's also a big change, big long cycle. So as you can see, a lot of themes happening with that Aries energy. And so we're going to be starting to really feel a very big difference with those, because those are initiating really big changes of cycle, and they're very big difference energy, different landscape than what we've been experiencing for these, last decades. So think about how you're feeling, with the energies so far that are coming up for you. And January was still so much about that, shedding and releasing. And the first part of February might still be feeling that a little bit. But we're going to start to see a lot of different energies and movement. We've got also an eclipse. We're starting the eclipse seasons this month, and it's going to be in Aquarius. And it's happening at the same time that this fire horse gets initiated, which is so interesting. And then the 20th is also a big deal. And then we have, 20th is a big deal, and I said that fast, because there's another astrological, very powerful happening. So again, if you want to just kind of look into astrological highlights for February, it'll come up for you. And invitation is, you may want to read about it, because it is very interesting and very, very exciting actually. And we also have Mercury going retrograde on the 26th. So again, interesting energies. We're starting to get energies moving forward. And then we have Mercury going retrograde. That's going to be almost, full of March will be retrograde. So we're going to be in the pre-shadow leading up to the 26th in February too. So I feel like there's going to be a lot of interesting currents. Feels like a very windy kind of month in symbolically. And as we start to cross these thresholds, that's where the invitation for us is really getting clear. What do we want to root, and what do we want to be moving forward, anchored in? So let's talk about the numbers and how that relates. So 2 represents the energy of, this 2 energy is what we're really moving into actually in the new consciousness. 2 represents harmony, unity, consciousness, love, connectivity, knowing, we're all connected, and what we do affects others, what others do affects us. We're all one in this global community, global connection. Humanity, is one. Even if somebody's on the other side of the world experiencing something, it affects us. And therefore what we can do and offer our, kind of love and compassion, even if it feels so insignificant and behind closed doors, it matters. It does matter, and it does make an impact So that's the 2 energy that's going to be highlighted this month. And we also have the 3 energy. 3 energy represents, on the world stage, we could start to see a lot more kind of that division, of that polarity, in the sense of what is really has been the narrative that is illusion and delusion, and starting to, again, start to see more of that stage and that story playing out, being revealed. That could kick up in a whole new way in February as well. I mean, it has been. So it could be that too. It represents really, though, what I was really got to kind of talk about for this month in this video, is really about nurturing ourselves and taking care of ourselves. And when we can learn to really nurture and take care of ourselves, that's our platform for us to be able to offer that to others. But not only that, you hear me say this all the time, that this microcosm, macrocosm effect. So when we do our own healing, when we do our own self-nurturing, self-care, really coming into our heart space, then we're also offering openings, pathway, and a shift of consciousness for the collective and for humanity. So again, not underestimating the power of that. Moving forward, the 3 energy is really asking us also to maybe, keep the optimism, keep the hope, see the positive, the potential, and the possibilities. As we go into these higher frequencies, that's also so important. Like, what are we giving energy to? And the 3 is going to come in and say, like, let's not forget there's a lot of good that's happening. And yes, there's a lot of chaos, and there's a lot of like perplexing violence and, just injustice, etc. And we don't want to, kind of negate that or negate our feelings. We want to honor, obviously, what's happening. And our power, though, comes back to us being able to hold our center in our heart space and really allow our soul self to shine through. So something, you could really ask this month is asking Spirit to gently and lovingly help to transform your personality so that it can be in full alignment with your soul self, with our soul self, so that we can come into our highest potential of our potential destiny and our alignment to our highest timeline. So however you want to word that, and just really ask for support and assistance, because that's really like soul knows what it's here to do. It's come here at this time, it's ready, and this year it's really going to start to come through and shine through. When we start to participate cooperatively, which is the 2, then we can, with our personality, because it's the personality often that really has the struggle. And when we start to resist, that's where we start to feel a lot of the tension. That's where we start to feel stuck. That's where we start to feel helpless potentially. So the more we can start to focus on getting in alignment to our soul self, we'll start to remember why we are here. What is our personal, unique, individual path that we have come here for, that we can offer in our own presence and our own gifts and abilities, our own intentions. So all that starts to come online more gently, more easily, and with more clarity and quicker when we can contribute with that, in a conscious way. So again, it's kind of like, how can I get my personality on board here? And so again, still asking, what does my body need today? What does my personality need today? And what does my soul need today? So the 2 is asking us to really cultivate a relationship. So 2 represents the connection. So the 3 is saying, how can we be more positive and how can we be more optimistic, seeing the potential in things and not forgetting that bigger picture as things play out that are extremely chaotic. And coming back to, first and foremost, the relationship and connection to our own heart and soul. Then from that place, how can we then spread further? February, we might not be called to do much other than that. It's really about us anchoring and getting solid and steady, because once the energy starts to really move forward quickly, we want to be super anchored. And if we're more anchored, things will feel more amazing and more fun and just more like fast and flowing and exciting. And if we're not anchored, we'll be more easily in the chaos, pulled into the chaos, pulled into the drama, pulled into the fear. And that's part of the crossing of the threshold. It's like, really definitively every day our invitation is continuously choosing, I am here for love. So I'm either serving love or I'm serving fear. That doesn't mean we're not going to feel fear. That's the 10-2, right? We're still going to feel fear, but we can still show up anyways, or we can still feel the fear, move it, and still come back to choosing love. So it doesn't mean it's going to be necessarily black and white. All I am in is love. No, we're still going to feel fear potentially. We're still going to have things that are fear-based that are coming up to be cleared and released, or that are going to activate. Sometimes that's also part of our activation. So it's still honoring that, and then choosing, though, who am I in this, coming from a place of love? What does it mean to me, for me to be rooted and anchored in love? So that could be, again, setting something up every day to help to start to really cultivate that, so that I can show up as authentically from a heart-centered place as possible each and every day. Again, not holding ourselves in pressure, not holding ourselves in perfectionism with that. It's really just being able to come back to, I'm coming back to, as much as I can, to softness. I'm coming back to, what is love? Love is a consciousness where I can have more readily ability to forgive, readily ability to soften and come into some type of understanding. How can I see this from another perspective, so that I can then start to have an understanding of compassion, seeing things from other perspectives? That still doesn't mean I'm going to agree with everything or everything will resonate with me, but how can I start to really step out of, transcend any polarity that's keeping me in any judgment or any fear, kind of out of these lower frequencies? So how can I do this? Consciousness of compassion offers, how can I cultivate more empathy? How can I cultivate compassion? How can I cultivate kindness? And they can be little things and little moments in our day. And again, it's sometimes those little moments, little choices, step by step throughout our day, that really end up making the biggest change in the biggest platform. The challenge for us is the trusting that it is making a difference. Two's asking, can we trust the process? Can we trust that what we are doing matters? Kind of starting to really come into this different consciousness and trusting there is a bigger plan playing out, and it's really a positive, amazing shift for humanity. And we are in these final laps of very conflicting, difficult times. So again, the 3 is saying, let's not forget about that bigger picture, and 2 is helping us to transcend potentially that polarity of what we're seeing potentially as the only reality. So 2 is asking us, how can we do this? How can we navigate? And including being diplomatic, kind of like being able to potentially see things from different perspectives, so that we can then respond, most importantly, from a place that's more peaceful or more harmonic. We want to start to cultivate harmony. So whatever we are harboring within ourselves that we're not moving, we're staying, kind of we're nursing it, or we're just contributing through our complaining, or through our word, or through, our thoughts that we're giving energy to. We are, that's how we're kind of choosing, in a sense. So again, this month is really saying, like, we are at this threshold now where there's not this in between really anymore. I'm not saying we are definitely multidimensional beings, and there's still different kind of timelines that we're working with. But this is because of where we're going now, this crossing of these thresholds with these changes we're coming in. It's kind of like we are now being asked to just really be definitive. Where's my stand here? So if my stand is love, then what does that look like? And then, creating something for ourselves from that point of conscious choice and decision. And then from there, inspired action can come through. 3 also represents the subconscious. This is a really good month for us to really kind of explore somewhat, and I think this is interesting with kind of the changes that are happening for sure. We're going to start to just all feel very different because of these changes, thankfully too. So a lot of what we're talking about, there's not really there's things that we have to consciously be doing, absolutely, and taking responsibility for ourselves but these changes that are happening are also going to start to activate and awaken things in us, including dormant things that we just all of a sudden might start feeling very different. And so that's exciting too. And so kind of know that. But the 3 and this pre-shadow of the Mercury retrograde, we're going to start to have a sense of what is in our subconscious that we want to bring to light, that's not seen, that we're not conscious of, so that we can now start to either shift it and kind of like correct it, or start to release it in order to start to consciously choose differently. And that's going to be playing out on the collective too. So we're going to potentially see more of that collective unconscious or collective shadow starting to be cleared out and released too. So again, the more we're anchored in our own center, if we're anchored and rooted in our own love, then we can go through, we can be more flexible. Like think of a willow tree in a storm or in a really windy day, you know, it moves, it flows with it. It's solid, it's anchored, it's got a strong trunk, but it's able to also move steadily. And that's kind of what we want to kind of, as a symbol, kind of move through, if that resonates. So this month, the 10 is asking us, where can we have the courage to take ourselves to the next level? And, you know, the 10 is this catalyst number. It's this, you know, I'm going to step up and be a leader of my own life and my own path in connection with my heart. So we're not doing it from a cutoff place. I've got to do this by myself, or, you know, the ego moving forward, this like running the show. This is about us staying really connected in our heart space. And again, throughout our days or throughout our life, constantly asking, you know, where can I take leadership? I don't have a control over a lot of things out there, but where can I take leadership of my own energies, of my emotions, of my thoughts, of my intentions, of the direction of things that I'm doing? Where can I make an impact in my own life, in my own transformational process, in my own family, in my own community, or then, you know, or in humanity, or with, you know, Mama Earth, or with animals, like wherever we're called to do. So the 10 is going to be really, again, supporting us to really help us to, you know, step into that courage and step into that confidence and step into the courage to come into a new way of being for ourselves, a new way of showing and relating to ourselves. So again, as we anchor into love, you know, I feel like the past has really been, the past year, especially past couple of years, have really been about shedding old identities. So this month is going to be like, you just, you know, you're done with old identity, and this new you is kind of birthing through. So allow it, you know, and how exciting. And I feel like it's about us allowing that new, you know, essence of us to rise through, and we are meeting it. You know, it's introducing itself to us. So allowing that, not feeling like we've got to figure that out and kind of, you know, control that or navigate through that. We can definitely contribute to that. Like, how do I want to show up here? Who do I want to be? What are the positive attributes and characteristics that I want to really shine through? But I also feel it's this allowing, so a bit of both, you know, allowing this new me to be able to rise through and shine through. And that's our soul self coming through. So the two will potentially help us to discern as well between, again, I feel like our clarity is going to be coming more online as, is this resonating or not resonating? And the more anchored, again, we are in this love or this peace or whatever you're guided to be anchored and rooted in, the more that's going to be our reference point from that point of discernment. So we'll be able to have more clarity to be able to choose from that point because we're clear in it, or we'll be able to come back into our center much quicker. And again, that doesn't mean we're always going to be staying in our center. It means that we want to recognize, when am I out of, so I'll use love as an example. If I'm not feeling love, what that means to me, how that feels for me, or how that looks for me, which it can be very different for all of us, no right or wrong here. But I want to recognize, when am I out of that, and how quickly can I come back into that center? And because we have certain structures in place for ourselves, routines or supportive techniques and tools, we might feel like we have to stick with the same ones. And this month, we might feel like, no, I need to do something different. The two and 3 are both very sensitive numbers. So again, all these changes, you know, that's also taking care of ourselves. So the 3 is, you know, self-care, self-nurturing. What's our relationship with that? Do I need to change that? Do I need to help myself regulate my nervous system differently than I've been doing? Am what I'm doing, is it helping me still? Is it helping me to be calm? Is it helping me to be less reactive? Is it helping me to move my emotions quicker? Is it helping me to feel grounded and rooted and anchored into my center, into Mama Earth? You know, am I present in my body? Am I out of my body? Do I know the difference between the two? So the 3 is really asking us, like, taking this care, nurturing ourselves, and really grounding with Mama Earth. 3 represents the mother archetype, so I feel like that's included with Mama Earth as well. and just really, you know, connecting with her and really anchoring into our root chakra and our earth star chakra as well. So really can really stay grounded and really anchored into that. So body's coming online definitely a lot more. It has been and will continue to. So I feel like, again, this month might help us just to come into more of a state of calm, of relaxation, or we'll be asked to do that. So don't feel like because that's the theme, all of a sudden that's going to show up. Sometimes it shows up in ways where it's helping us to realize, okay, I need a little bit more attention in this area. I'm having a harder time calming. I'm out, or I'm hearing something, or just even, you know, all of a sudden I'm having a day, I wake up and I just feel like my nervous system's wired or off, you know, like there's been a lot of energetic, solar storms, things like that happening that affects us too. So really being able to just kind of check in with ourselves and be fluid with it. So meaning, you know, it's not like necessarily a cookie cutter response that we're working with. It could be just consistently tuning in and saying, you know, what do I need right now? And then what do I need to support myself for that need, whether it's physical, mental, emotional, energetic, and then spiritually coming back into our own center and connection. So just to finalize here, just kind of coming back into that connection of being able to connect to our heart, but being able to connect to source, being able to connect to nature, or being able to connect to that divine intelligence or that presence, whatever that means for you personally, individually, beginning to really cultivate that relationship, because without that moving forward, things won't feel grounded and they won't feel purposeful, you know? So if you start to feel like, I don't want to be here anymore, this is way too much, this is like too crazy, or I'm just, you know, things are so chaotic, I'm rudderless, I don't have a center point, that's often an invitation right there that we need to ground more and then kind of come back into our connection. So that could be just our breath, you know, just coming back into our breath, coming back into the present moment. I'm here in this moment. I'm going to connect to my breath, notice my breath cool as it enters into my nose and warm as it leaves the nose, and just really starting to just keep it simple, focusing on the breath, focusing on the simple things. You know, feet on the ground, bare feet on the ground. Where I am right now, it's like totally winter and lots of snow. So I'm, you know, not so readily, easily to go out and bare feet on the grass, but what else could we do, right? Because you can still ground on the floor. You can still be going outside and touching a tree to still kind of get that grounding. So again, wherever we are and wherever we're at and whatever we're needing, it's being able to kind of just slow down and come back to honoring that and nurturing ourselves and knowing that we are loved through the process and allowing ourselves to feel that love and receive that love. All right, so wishing you, I know this is long, I keep saying I'm trying to keep these shorter, but there's so much going on. So I hope you have a very beautiful month and sending lots of love. Namaste.